Have you ever wished you could turn back time? Not to change a big decision, but just to get back all those little moments? Those wasted hours, days, even years that slipped through your fingers? In a forgotten alley, tucked away from the city's relentless hustle, there was a shop that promised just that. It wasn't on any map, and you could only find it if you were truly desperate to reclaim your lost time. The sign above the door, carved from ancient dark wood, simply read, "The Clockmaker of Lost Time." Inside, the air was thick with the scent of old wood, brass, and something else. Something that smelled like memories. Clocks of every imaginable size and shape filled the room. Grandfather clocks stood like silent sentinels. Cuckoo clocks slept on the walls, and tiny, intricate pocket watches gleamed under the soft light of a single hanging lamp. The ticking wasn't a cacophony, but a gentle, unified heartbeat. And behind a large oak desk sat the clockmaker himself. He was an old man with eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of centuries and hands that moved with a slow, deliberate grace. One rainy afternoon, the shop's bell chimed, announcing a new visitor. A young man named Leo stood dripping in the doorway, his face a mask of anxiety and regret. He looked around at the ticking marvels, his heart pounding in his chest. He was a successful graphic designer, but he felt like a fraud. He'd spent his 20s chasing deadlines, fueled by caffeine and ambition, only to realize he'd missed everything else. He'd missed friends' weddings, family gatherings, the changing of seasons. He felt like he had blinked, and a decade was gone. I heard you can help people, Leo stammered, his voice barely a whisper. Help them get back? Lost time. The clockmaker looked up from a delicate timepiece he was mending. He didn't seem surprised. He simply nodded and gestured to a worn leather chair opposite his desk. Time is a peculiar thing, the old man said, his voice as smooth and steady as the ticking around them. It cannot be bottled or saved. But tell me, young man, what time have you lost? Leo sank into the chair, the dam of his composure finally breaking. He told the clockmaker everything. He spoke of the all-nighters, the cancelled plans, the relationships that faded from neglect. He talked about the constant feeling of running a race with no finish line, only to look back and see an empty track behind him. I've wasted 10 years, he finished, his voice thick with emotion. I'd give anything to have them back, to do it all differently. The clockmaker listened patiently, his gaze never wavering. When Leo was done, he didn't offer a magical solution or a time-turning device. Instead, he picked up a simple, unadorned pocket watch from his desk. It wasn't ticking, its hands were frozen at 12. I cannot give you back your past, the clockmaker said softly, placing the silent watch in Leo's hand. No one can. The past is a collection of stories. Some happy, some sad. They make you who you are, but you cannot live in them. Leo's face fell. He felt a familiar sting of disappointment. This was a waste of time, too. Then ... what is it you do here? What's the point of all this? He asked, gesturing to the hundreds of clocks. I don't sell yesterday, the clockmaker explained. I help people find today. Each of these clocks, he swept his hand around the room, represents a moment someone learned to be present. You see, you haven't lost 10 years. You've lost countless nows. You were so focused on the then and the when that you forgot about the now. He gently tapped the silent watch in Leo's palm. This watch doesn't tell time, it reminds you of it. Your task is not to retrieve the years you believe are gone, it is to start collecting moments, right now. The clockmaker stood and walked over to a small, dusty workbench. He picked up a tiny gear and a pair of tweezers. Watch, he said. He placed the gear into the mechanism of the watch he was repairing. His movements were slow, precise, utterly focused. For that single moment, the entire universe seemed to exist in that tiny piece of brass and the gentle click it made as it settled into place. Nothing else mattered. The rain outside, the ticking of the other clocks, Leo's own anxious breathing all faded into the background. This, the clockmaker said, turning back to Leo, is a moment. It is all we ever truly have. You want to reclaim your lost time? Stop chasing it. Start living in the only time that exists, the present. Leo stared at the old man, then down at the silent watch in his hand. The clockmaker's words were simple, yet they resonated with the profound truth he'd been avoiding. He had been mourning a past he couldn't change and fearing a future that had arrived, all while the present slipped by, unnoticed. So ... what do I do? Leo asked, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. Go home, the clockmaker said with a kind smile. When you walk out that door, don't think about where you're going or where you've been. Just walk. Feel the rain on your skin, listen to the sound of your footsteps on the wet pavement. Notice the color of the sky. Your future, the one you're so desperate to build, doesn't start tomorrow. It starts with your next breath. It starts with a single, mindful moment. Leo clutched the silent watch. He stood up feeling lighter than he had in years. He thanked the old man, a genuine gratitude welling up inside him. As he stepped out of the shop, the bell chiming softly behind him, he didn't pull up his hood or rush through the rain. Instead, he stopped, he tilted his head back and let the cool drops splash against his face. He took a deep, deliberate breath, smelling the clean scent of the rain-washed city. For the first time in a very long time, Leo wasn't thinking about a deadline, a regret, or a future goal. He was just there, In that moment, on that street, in the rain, and in that single, simple moment, he felt a profound sense of peace. He hadn't gotten his lost decade back, but he had received something infinitely more valuable, the key to all the time he had left. The silent watch in his pocket didn't tick, but for Leo, his life had just started ticking again. The lesson from the clockmaker is one for all of us. We can't rewind the clock, but we can wind it up for the present. Your life is happening right now. Don't miss it. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more tales that make you think. See you next time.